the next update is the update that we know that so many of you, and well, so many of us as well, has been wanting for such a long time. It's the Caves and Cliffs update.
It must feel amazing to be able to tell everyone that.
Seriously, like, I'm so excited about this. I mean, even before I joined Mojang, I was always thinking about, like, when is the cave update gonna come? And this is it, but it's also got the cliffs as well. It's got the mountains. Like, this is such a big update, and I'm so excited.
How are you feeling, Agnes?
Great, like, no, it's so good. So we have been working on this update for quite long, and we're like, we can't wait to tell everyone, and now we just announced it, and it feels
We're actually
amazing.
getting our first live look at some reactions.
Oh.
Okay, that's very cute.
So cute.
Those mobs are very, very excited. This year, we asked some of our communities to submit questions that we'll answer across the show. This first question definitely feels like something everyone wants to know.
Mi pregunta es, ¿por qué se han tardado tanto en actualizar las cuevas y cuándo llegarán? En verdad que hemos estado pidiendo esto por muchísimo tiempo.
Why has it taken so long? Like Brandon, I've been waiting a long time too.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So since this update really is the update, like we have been dreaming about it for so long, so it felt so important for us to do it right. Like we don't want to rush it. But now we feel it's the right time. Like we have spent the time we need to really like understand the vision we have for the update, and also to make sure that we understand what the community actually wants. And we've also like planned around it to make sure that we really can work together with the community to make this and like as epic update as possible. And we have also hired some new amazing developers to the team.
And you're one of the amazing developers, Brandon.
Yeah, I joined this year in January, and I actually came from the community. I used to do modding for 10 years. One of the first mods I work on was the Aether, which is like a dimension that added sky islands and stuff. And yeah, I'm just so happy to be here and work on an update this epic.
I'm so happy to have you.
We have another creator question.
Hi, I'm the Pink Diamond Diva, and this is my question. Are you making the caves more advanced for older players so they can mine deep, or are you making them more accessible and easy to navigate for newer players?
Such a great question.
Yeah, I mean, with this update, we're making sure that we can have as much variation as possible within the actual caves themselves, but we want to make sure that the old caves are still retained as much as possible to keep that classic feel.
Yeah, and we really also looked into to make sure that we have something for everyone, because you know we have such a huge community, and it's also a very diverse community, and that's such a beautiful thing. So we really want this update to have something for everyone. So actually, we made sure to map all the features in the update to different player styles to really see that we fulfill that goal.
That's so cool. And you had such a big thought process on how you decide what even goes into an update this big.
Yeah, we have spent quite a lot of time on just making sure that we have a very good like fundament for the update. For example, we did the player style mapping, and we've also worked with design pillars. So the design pillars, they kind of describe the vision of the update. So for example, they help us when we like prioritize between different features, and also when we design each specific feature. And we have 3 pillars for this update. And the first one is actually all about like the spectacular mountains, the snowy snow, and the mischievous goats. Because at last year's live, the players voted for these features, and we felt like it's so important to deliver on that promise. So we actually wanted to have it as a pillar.
Yeah, and another pillar that we actually integrated into this was adding strategy to mining. So of course, Minecraft already has plenty of strategy in mining, but we wanted to see if we could push that just a little bit further and add even more mechanics that make it interesting for players to mine in the caves.
Yeah, and the third pillar is to create an underground of marvel for the players. And that pillar is a lot about like adding variation to the underground and like contrasts, and like inspire players to like craft their own underground adventures and build underground. And one thing we have done to like fulfill this pillar is that we have added new cave biomes, and one of them is the Lush caves.
It's so beautiful. It doesn't feel cave-like.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to make sure that, of course, in Minecraft, all the original caves, they're pretty much the same. There's not much variation in terms of vegetation or different features inside of it. So for this, we wanted something which is a bit more like light and lush and actually has vegetation. And I mean, I think it looks amazing.
It's gorgeous. What was the inspiration behind it?
So we were thinking about, okay, so how should it feel when you are in a lush cave? And we wanted to be like, so you feel like very tiny inside like a big garden or big forest. So like when you look up, it's actually like vegetation above you, it's vegetation around you. And one source of inspiration we had is actually a Swedish painter called John Bauer, because in his paintings it's always, or often at least, like a tiny character, and then it's like huge forest, and you see like the bottom of the trees because the vegetation is like so big compared to the character.
And you're adding so many new plants in the lush caves.
Yes, so I don't know if you saw, but there was this new tree that was actually above on the overworld, and this is called an Azalea Tree. So it's a unique type of tree that it'll be easy to spot for players, and if you actually find this and start going down its roots, you will find a lush cave there. So this is another part of adding strategy to mining, where there are certain landmarks which will allow you to understand what you're doing in the game.
That's cool. And another one of the new blocks is a block called Spore Blossom. And it's that, you maybe saw it in the video, it's a big pink flower that you find in the roof of the lush cave. And it will drip particles from that flower, but it will also actually feel like a big volume around it with particles. So it's similar to the particles that we added to the nether biomes in the nether update. But the cool thing here is that you can move the flower if you want to and get these particles anywhere you want in your world. So you can actually be very creative with that.
That's so awesome. And the lush caves have a real glow to them from one of the plants.
Yes. So there are vines in the lush caves, and they have glow berries on them, and these are actually a light source. And you can also pick them and eat them if you want to.
Nice.
Yes. And another plant we actually have is the drip leaf plant. And you can actually see that they can kind of grow from like water or anywhere else. And they grow quite tall, but they have like a little plant on the top that you can actually hop onto. So the idea of the mechanic behind it is that the leaf will actually tilt down when you stand on it too long. So this will actually make you fall through. However, after a few seconds, it'll come back up. So it's kind of this like platforming block that allows you to just, continue platforming over and over again, which I hope is really exciting for, content creators making maps.
Yeah, you can build like your own platforming levels, and then they will repair themselves. That's kind of neat.
It's so beautiful in there. And there's actually a mob coming to the lush caves.
Yes, there is. But we will actually not tell you about this mob now, because in the end of the show, we will show even more features coming to the Caves and Cliffs update. And then we're going to show that mob.
This is the first time we have so much that we're actually splitting the update section into two, at the beginning and towards the end of the show. It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting.
You've also worked on improving the cave generation.
Yes.
Yeah, so as you can see here, I mean, this is drastically different to what caves used to look like. And there's definitely still the old style of caves, but we wanted to make sure that there was much more variety in the sort of caves and the shapes and the sizes you could get. And even here, you can see that there's some water underground.
Yes. So we actually added something we call local water levels. So in one cave might find like a cave lake, and another cave might not have that one. And this also means that we get naturally generated waterfalls, which is so pretty. And it also kind of gives like new ways to traverse the underground. You can actually go cave rafting.
Yeah, so you'll see in a bit that our player here will actually use a boat to raft. Mm-hmm. And that is just such an exciting opportunity to be able to traverse the caves in a very different way than you used to.
Yeah, we were playtesting, and then one of the devs like, look at this, it's so fun, and all of us just started to go with the boat on the waterfalls. It was a lot of fun.
So another thing to note here is that you could see that a lot of the ores were actually glowing. This is just for preview purposes. Ores aren't going to glow now. It's just that the caves tend to be quite dark, and we want to make sure that players can see the shapes of the cave.
Now, will that only be for the like normal caves, or will this run across all of the new cave biomes?
Yeah, so the really cool thing is that like the new cave shapes and sizes is completely independent from the new biomes. So that means that we have so much variation. Because, for example, a lush cave can, for example, generate, in a super narrow tunnel, but it can also generate in like a huge cavern, and that creates completely different atmospheres, but it's still the same biome. So we're really going to have lots of variation on the ground now.
You've been calling two of the different cave types spaghetti and Swiss cheese? Like that's how varied the caves could be?
Yes, I mean, there are so many different variables of how the variation works. And I mean, it has even more variation than the overworld itself. It's just crazy.
It's a lot. Yeah, some of the caves, for example, have really cool pillars, and some are more like flat, some are tall. Lots of variation.
Very nice. And you have another new cave biome to show us.
Yes, so we have the Dripstone Caves biome. And whenever I think about the idea of a cave update, the image of stalagmites and stalactites comes into my head. But adding these are pretty difficult. It's a very unique shape that Minecraft isn't really accustomed to. But I think the way that the artist put it into Minecraft works quite well. And of course, there's some mechanics surrounding this. So you can see that someone destroyed the block up the top, and so the dripstone fell down. And also, unfortunately for this zombie here, if you fall on these dripstones, you will get hurt.
Poor zombie.
There's another interesting mechanic in the dripstone caves.
Yes, so maybe you saw in the video that like from the stalactites, you could see that it was like dripping water. So actually, if you put a cauldron under a stalactite, it will fill up with water. So it's renewable water.
And how do you remember which is stalactites and stalagmites?
Well, that's a very good question. It has been very tricky to remember that, but I think I learned. So we actually, it's hold on tight to stalactite. I was going to say the wrong one. So stalactite is in the roof and stalagmite is on the floor.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We've been practicing that, all of us.
For a long time, like even.
And you have something really amazing in this update for the sort of redstone engineers out there.
Yes, so we've actually been thinking about this redstone block that lives in the deep dark, a new biome at the deepest depths of the world. We're not going to talk about this biome too much today, but we are going to show some of the blocks and maybe later a mob that comes from it. So if we look at the video, we can actually see that it's basically this growth, and this is called the Skulk blocks. And one of the blocks is called the Skulk Sensor. This is the new redstone block. As you can see, when you place or destroy a block, or if you have footsteps, it'll actually detect the vibrations around and then emit a redstone signal. So this is going to be very interesting for redstone players. We even have a mechanic around it where you can actually use wool with wool occlusion to essentially prevent signals from being able to get into the Skulk Sensor. So let's take a look at that now. And as you can see here, I walked next to the Skulk Sensor, and it's actually kind of doing an infinite loop where the piston is causing a vibration, and then it's activating the Skulk Sensor and going over and over again. But here, I've actually put a wool block in between the piston, which prevents the signal from going to the Skulk Sensor. This can allow you to even do sort of directional Skulk Sensors where you can put wool blocks on each side and only allow it to detect vibrations in front of it. And vibrations can be so many different things. It can be a snowball hit, it could be an arrow, it could be footsteps, it could be blocks, anything.
So cool.
Yeah.
And another thing, we had a bit of a happy accident with this because we realized that we get wireless redstone thanks to the Skulk Sensor.
Yes.
So, and we didn't even plan to add it, but then when we started playtesting, we're like, wait, we got wireless redstone, and that's so exciting. And well, you can just build so many cool things with that. It's going to be exciting to see what the community will build.
Yeah, you're really looking for community feedback to make sure this feels great for everyone.
Absolutely. I think because this is such a unique mechanic, we really want to make sure that we get it right. And, we love the redstone community and we want to make sure that we do it right. So any feedback you have, any ideas, send it to us and we will work with you to make this the best block that it can be.
And now, we said there's another mob coming later, but I think it's time for a new mob coming to the Caves and Cliffs update.
It is. And this is a very scary mob. And it lives in the deepest of the underground, in the deep dark. And this is a very dark place. And the cool thing is that this mob is very well adapted to the environment. So it can't see anything. So it's the first blind mob in Minecraft. And that's very interesting because it gives such interesting mechanics. So instead, it will react to vibrations, just like the Skulk Sensor block. So, if you aren't very careful when you walk around in the deep dark, you might upset that mob.
Yeah, with this mob, we really wanted to make sure that we kind of recaptured that feeling of the first night of Minecraft. And we can often forget that Minecraft can be a pretty scary game. So we wanted to make sure that we could kind of go back to that. I mean, caves can be scary. They're dark. And all I'm going to say is that when you go into the deep dark, I want to make sure that you're very quiet and watch closely for the warden.
What did we just see?
It's a very different mob. I'm really excited for this because not only is it trying to be scary, it's, we had to keep a balance to it. It was very challenging to design a mob like this. Another thing that's really important to note is in that video, I was wearing full netherite armor, so it's very powerful. You
That's
definitely want to watch
mob.
out. Yeah.
Which I think also is such an interesting gameplay, because if you want to, you can avoid it, but then you need to really be careful, sneak all the time to not make any kind of movement that it will detect. But that's a lot of fun, and it's feels scary, but in the good way.
And you wanted to kind of take everyone back to that first night experience with the warden.
Absolutely. I mean, I had such an amazing experience when I first played Minecraft. It was terrifying listening to zombies underneath my house and in the caves, and hopefully we can bring that back to players, but 10 years later.
Yeah. But that would be just amazing, because you hear so many lovely first night stories. It's such a big thing, and I mean, I'm also very fond of my first night in Minecraft, so we hope to give that experience again.
But you really balance sort of the look of it. It's it's almost cute, but also really, really terrifying. How did you decide?
Yeah. We actually worked a lot on how does scariness look in Minecraft, because we wanted to be very scary and we didn't want to take away from the scariness, but we felt let's add some derpiness to it. So it's like a mix. So for example, we added the mouth. I love the mouth. And some actually reacted oh, it's so cute, which I think it's more scary, but